Let's go ahead and swipe it. That is really cool.
Hey everybody, it's Anna. Welcome back to my Fluid Art channel and thank you so much for stopping by. Today I'm doing a couple of bloom swipes on 8x8-inch canvases because these are for an upcoming art exhibition at Oasis Fine Art in Harrisonburg, Virginia. They're having their annual 8x8 craft or art show. So I'm making two, hopefully. Bloom swipes using Molly's recipe, and one on a white base, one on a dark base. So I think it'll be pretty cool. Let me talk you through my colors. So first of all, what do I mean by Molly's pouring medium? Molly's Artistry developed her own sort of pouring medium that she uses for cell activator swipes, which is really great. It's 2 parts American Floetrol to 1 part gloss medium and varnish by Creative Inspirations. So I made that. You mix it up in advance, and then I mix that with my paints, about 1 part paint to 2 parts of that pouring medium. And it makes this really wonderful, thick, silky, flows easily paint mixture that's wonderful for blooms, essentially, the Shelley Art bloom, but without using her recipe, but it's still that kind of technique. So 2 different color schemes. This one is going to be a white base. Then I have a black cell activator. This one is using Australian Floetrol, but if you don't have Australian Floetrol, check the video description for a link on how to make a cell activator without that. And then I have 2 metallic tube paints. This is Creative Inspirations Gold, and this is, I believe, Master's Touch Pearlized Dark Blue. Then I have 2 just solid paints. I believe this one is Viridian by Creative Inspirations, and this is Turquoise Blue by Amsterdam. And then I have 1 mica pigment. This is Champagne by Let's Resin, and it's a color shifting pigment, so it looks kind of gold beige, but it's going to shine pink, which will be a lot of fun. So that's my first side, and then my second side, my base, is this lovely dark navy, which I make out of phthalo blue and black. It's mostly phthalo blue with some black, and I have a white cell activator for that side. And then this is TLP Sea Glass. This is a metallic purple paint of some kind. It might be lavender, I don't know. Then this is another, this little piggy. This is Velvet, which is an interference pigment, so it looks white. It'll shine blue on the dark base. And then this one is Seashell by Let's Resin, and it's a lovely sort of white to gold color. So some of my pigments, at least, are mixed with Pebeo Bindex. Some of them are leftover cups, and they may have been mixed with gloss gel to turn them essentially into a paint and then mixed with the pouring medium. I don't anticipate that making a big difference in today's painting, but I cannot promise. I think some of my older cups are probably mixed with the gloss gel and then the pouring medium. But this one, the Champagne, and this, for sure, those were mixed with Bindex first. All right, so those are all my paints. It's a pretty thick consistency, thick but flowy. It's like a soft thickness. You don't want super, super defined trails and mounds, but it is definitely a thicker paint than you would use for most of your other pours. And then I might be adding some balloon kisses once it's finished, because I've seen some people that do bloom swipes or blooms, and then they do these little tiny kisses, and it just makes like a little flower star point kind of thing. So I want to try that. And I have just a sheet of plastic for swiping, and I think that's all my details, so let's make some paintings. So the first thing that I need to do is stick my canvas onto my spinner. So I'm going to use some blue tape and just put a little bit. You don't need a lot. You just need it to be held on in a couple of points so that as you spin, it's not going to go shooting off. Now, as long as your canvas is centered on the spinner it doesn't take a lot of tape to hold it on. If you're going to be like moving it so that it's off center, then the way the forces work is it's much more likely to slide off. So I'm going to try to make this nice and centered. There we go. All right, I'm going to put down my white base coat / pillow, and I'm going to start by spreading some over the corners because that's going to be the hardest part to get covered, and I want to make sure that that is covered in advance to help the rest of the paint flow over it. And then once my corners are covered, I'll decide how much more I want to cover. Okay, I am going to put just a little bit along the sides here. Not a really thick coat, but enough to kind of get the sides a little bit wetter, help the paint to flow. So that is relatively smooth across the top. Obviously it's not totally smooth. You can do bloom swipes in different ways. I'm going to be making mine in a line, in a diagonal line. So I want the colors to flow sort of this way and that way, and then that center line will be through the middle. So I'm going to torch quickly because I see a few air bubbles. So now I'm going to lay down a little bit more of my pillow right here in the middle. And that will just provide a little bit more paint to flow across the canvas. Now I'm going to start layering my colors, and I'm going to do those in a line. Let's do some of this Viridian first, and I'll do that one in a straight line. That was not a particularly neat straight line, was it? Also, I'm going to do it straight up and down because it ended up crooked. Gold, and this will be in a little bit of a wiggle because I want a bit of variety as the colors come out. If there's a little bit of crisscrossing of your colors, then it allows different colors to peek through and you'll get a more interesting design. Okay, now I'm going to do just a tiny bit of this turquoise blue. I don't want this to dominate, but I love it as a color, and I got it for Christmas, and I thought that might look really nice. Okay, and then some of this pearlized dark blue, and we'll finish up with champagne. Great. So my line is slightly off the corner here. I think that's going to end up fine. So there's two ways to do the cell activator. Let me torch first, and then I'll tell you what those are. I could either put a strip of cell activator running straight down the middle and then touch my my swiper into that to pull, or I could put a little bit of cell activator on my swiper along the edge of that and then just pull with that, which is more like loading up a cell activator and then swiping in. I think because my line is slightly uneven, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to load my swipe tool. And I'll use the wide end. This end's a bit flatter. All right, so I'm going to just take my cell activator here and put a little bit along the edge. You don't need a lot of cell activator, especially on a small canvas like this. All right, so I'll flip that over, get a paper towel here ready to catch my swipe. So I'm going to touch this into the center and then pull back just slowly and gently until we cross over the side, and then wipe it off and see how it looks. All right, got it all touched. That was unexpected. My spinner was turning. I'm sure you could see that. So instead of being able to pull just lovely straight back, I had to kind of pull to the side in order to keep my lines straight. Wow, that's beautiful. Let me wipe this off. Lots of lacing coming up, beautiful blues and greens. Oh, I love that. Nice small cells. Okay, for the next side, I do think I'm going to put some more cell activator on the thing. Even though there's some still left over, having a little bit more is gonna, I think, make a better swipe. Okay, now we'll see if the spinner wants to spin again. Let me see if I can... If I just put that sort of tight up against there, that should help it not spin right now. All right, let's do the other side. So I'm touching it right where the black had begun before. Once it's all touched, and slide. Great. So I picked up a little bit before the corner. That'll be okay because we're going to spin and it's all going to stretch. Oh, that's so pretty. So this side is much darker, I think, because I had more of that paint layer on this side. But that's cool. I don't mind having the two sides slightly different. Oh man, this is going to be so sparkly. That is looking so cool. All right, I'm going to stretch this a bit. And then once it's pretty much where I want it to end up, then I'll do the balloon kisses, because the balloon kisses are going to change the amount of paint that's on the canvas in certain areas, and so it's going to make it stretch differently as we spin, and so we'll get the best effect if we spin first. All right, here we go. All right, let's see how this is looking. All right, so we're definitely stretching. We haven't gotten the color quite off of both corners, so I'll spin a little bit more. Okay, so this side the swipe is pretty much off. This one it's still not quite, so I'd love to stretch a little bit more of that off. We'll go the other way this time. I don't know that spinning in two directions makes a big difference. I know a lot of people do change which direction they spin. I feel like for the most part the paint is traveling outwards, not sort of side to side, but keeping it balanced is never a bad thing. All right, let me just do one more. Okay, very cool. So right here along this side is where it didn't quite cover, and then right here on this corner, our swoop didn't quite cover, but it's very close, and I think if I stretch too much more, our design might go a little bit strange. Actually, right here it's getting bunched up, and it's having trouble flowing over the edge, so I'm going to put some paint just right here on the side to get the side more covered with paint, and then we'll spin it again so that that paint can help pull the design over the edge just a little bit more. And I'll do the same thing here where the green is having trouble crossing. Okay, let's try that. Okay, it's starting to cross over on this edge. I want to spin it just a little bit more. Okay, it is definitely over the edge, and I think as the paint continues to flow and drip, it'll probably stretch a bit more. I think what I've learned here is that I do really need to cover all the sides thoroughly, because if I don't, the paint does not flow equally quickly, and so the edges don't get covered equally nicely. But that looks amazing. I love those colors, and I can't wait for the pink of the champagne to appear. So the reason I want to do balloon kisses is because you see right here in the center, we have some strange cells where the two cell activator swipes sort of began and crossed into each other. So here is nice and pretty, but here to here is kind of messed up. So I think if I add just a couple of little balloon kisses, it'll help to disguise that. So this is a 7-inch balloon, but I have not blown it up very large because I want to make a nice small design. So I'm just going to touch it very carefully. Wow, that's amazing. Why have I never done this before? All right, let me do another, like, 2. Wonderful. And then just to balance it, I gotta do another one over here, even though I don't mind the cells there. That one I pushed just a little bit harder to make a larger cell. So what's really interesting is the texture of these. As it's dipped in and then kind of sucked back up, it's like a hole with then a little mound in the middle. It's really funny. I'm sure the paint is going to even itself back out and that texture will flatten, but for right now it's really funny to look at. One issue I have is that this middle one is the smallest and I really think it should be the biggest. So I'm gonna redo that one. Yeah. Even just by making the middle one bigger, I think that looks better. I'm really happy with this. Let me go ahead and reset, move this off, get the other one set, then I'll paint the other one, and then I'll give you close-ups of both. All right, I have that painting sitting over on some cups. I've got my spinner wiped off a bit so that the colors from that don't get on this one. And I've taped this down, and it's time to start adding the base coat. So learning from my lesson of the first one, as I spread this out, I'm not just going to cover the corners, but all of the sides thoroughly. Because as the canvas spins and the paints cover, it's not just the corners that need help getting covered, it's also the sides. And having them well covered ahead of time can really make sure that your paint flows well. On this canvas, I did paint my sides with a little bit of the base coat first. So even though it's a much lighter blue than it will end up as in the finished painting, it'll help make sure that those sides are really solidly covered. And even if the layer of paint is a little bit thinner, it still looks nice and dark and lovely. Right, and then I think a little bit more paint overall would help, just to make sure that the design can stretch. All right, that looks good. Let me give that a torch to pop some of these air bubbles. I want to make this one diagonal too. So I'm going to pour down my sort of center pillow just to make sure that all the colors can flow well. Now for my colors, all of these are metallics. This one is a metallic paint and these 3 are mica pigments, which means they're going to behave differently than a more like opaque, just regular tube paint. And I think it's going to make a really cool kind of icy, semi-transparent kind of look on the dark background, so I'm excited about it. So I'm going to start with some of the velvet right here on top of the dark base, because interference pigments, when they're right on top of a dark color, that's when they shine. So I'm going to start with that, and I may add a little bit more on the top as well. Then I'm going to come with a little bit of this sort of lavender purple. And then the sea mist. No, this is sea glass, not sea mist. Sea mist is a different color. I'm making that one more zigzagged.
And then seashell for a bit of yellow, gold kind of. And then let's top it off with a little bit more velvet because I just love this color. Lovely. So this is very sort of ghostly right now, and it'll be interesting to see how those colors come up. I'm going to do the same thing with my cell activator where I'm going to put it straight on and swipe with that because I think that's going to offer the most freedom. So I'll put my cup of paint there just to hold my spinner in place. Let's add some of this white cell activator. Okay, this will be fun. Let's go ahead and swipe it. So I'm going to try to grab right in the middle of that design and then gently pull. Oh good, I made it all the way to the corner this time. I didn't lift up early, but I forgot to set out my wiping off paper towel. Those colors are looking perfect. Yeah, the lacing, the colors are perfect. You can still see the dark background, but you can see all the lovely little pastel colors. It's great. All right, last side. Pull. Nice. So this large blue cell there, I could see it was an air bubble. The plastic kind of lifted. I don't think it's gonna be distracting though, because it just kind of looks like another cell that's come up. That is wonderful. Yeah, I love it. The colors look exactly as I wanted. So let me give it a gentle spin to start it stretching. Looking great. The design is starting to cross over the edges. Let's keep it going. So the thing about swiping and then spinning is it's going to stretch this way, not just these two directions. So this line here you can see is kind of curved because it was straight and then the center has moved away from the end. On a small canvas, I don't mind it, but it's something to think about in terms of stretching. You may find that if you want your lines to be really neat and even, that you have to tilt it by hand instead of spinning. I think one more spin maybe, and then I'll add the balloon kisses. So I would love it if a little bit more of the design was crossing over on these sides, but I don't think it's distracting. Definitely our pattern has reached the edges. So I would say that's probably good, and I think if I spin it more, it's going to continue to warp. That is amazing lacing in there. All right, time for the balloon kisses. I think I'm going to do, well, I guess the question is, do I need any balloon kisses? It's so beautiful. And the cells are not distracting. And it's even the sort of thing where I could probably, in a couple of these places where there isn't lacing, I could probably take a brush and create my own lacing in a couple of these larger areas. So maybe I'll do that. Because the balloon kisses look great, but this is so pretty as it is that I think I'll just leave it. All right, let me get these sort of arranged so that it's easier for you to see them, and I will give you a close-up.
Look how cool they are. I'll show you the first one first. So this is just a beautiful color blend. I love the green, blue, gold, and black. And then from this angle, can you see that champagne starting to sparkle pink? So it's going to look really cool when it's dry. I love those balloon kisses in the middle. It really blends in that center line, and I'd love to try more of these in the future. And then here's that second one. These colors are so dreamy, and these are all going to be metallics. sort of green, gold, purple, and blue. And then the white lace on top of the navy blue. Oh, it's just wonderful. I love them both. So I'm going to let these dry and then I'll come back and show you how they look. Okay, they're dry. These turned out so well. So let me show you this one. Check out the champagne. What? I love how that pink just kind of appears out of nowhere. And the whole thing is so shimmery because of the metallic blue, the gold, and the champagne in there. So those centers, they did flatten out as they dried. They look shiny just because that's the sheen of the white paint. I have a feeling there will still be a bit of visible texture once I varnish this, but it's not too bad. So that is just amazing. And then this one also, check out the shimmer. That is so cool. So from this angle you see a lot of that sea glass, the greenish, and the purple. But then when the light hits it, the seashell glows gold and the velvet shimmers blue. So that's just amazing. On this side, I did hand paint some lacing to just take some of those big cells and disguise the fact that they didn't have lacing, and I think that turned out perfectly. So I just love both of these so much, and I can't wait to put them into the art exhibition. Thank you all for joining me as I created these 8-inch bloom swipes using Molly's pouring medium. They are so shimmery and I love them, and it was a great way to start the new year. I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye guys!